Hi, this is Cherry Stevens, your solo PWA champion, and we're listening to PW Down Under.
All my life, standing on the cliff, I wanna jump.
Hey, this is Andy from PW Down Under. I am so lucky to be joined today by the Soul of PWA champion and MCW Women's Champion first contender and one of Australia's newest internationally travelled wrestlers, Cherry Stevens. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
One of the reasons I wanted to get you on, Cherry, is because you have recently launched a blog that has a couple of entries so far, and I think you're a great writer, and I wanted to ask you, I guess, why write it?
Why write it? Yeah, that's a very good question. I've always been very partial to the written word. I love reading. I love books. I think there's a way of storytelling in words that we forget about a lot in social media because there's so much content that's imagery and videos, and the way that I write is a bit chaotic. I like putting that out there, and I like people following the way that I'm writing. Much more comfortable doing that than I would be recording a video or that kind of content. I still try to do that, but my home is in writing, so that's why I chose to write instead of doing something else.
Yeah, cool. And how's the feedback been?
It's been really good. I was cross-posting it a little bit on Reddit and like the social media. So I got a bunch of subscribers when I first launched it. And the feedback's been really good so far. People have liked my writing, which is, it's always very nerve-wracking to put out something that's quite personal as well, I think, especially because it's towing the line between what's real and what's not real, really, in wrestling, which I think that we're doing more and more of with our content, which I think draws people in a lot more. So I hope contributing to that through a blog will hopefully get some people on board that maybe previously weren't interested in wrestling.
cherrystevens.substack.com for our listeners.
That's right. The blog's name is Puro. So that's kind of the name of the blog by Cherry Stevens.
And the name?
Coming from Puro wrestling, the Japanese word for wrestling.
Yeah, sure. Now, one of the stories you told really early on was about, I guess, not growing up in wrestling and how you came to training and all of that. So I'm not going to get you to retell that story. People should absolutely go and read that in your words. One of the things I am interested in is how you go from not being a wrestling fan to ending up at perhaps the best wrestling school in the country.
Yeah. Well, I do mention this in the blog, and I won't recite it completely, but it was purely by accident through my housemate who was really into wrestling. So it wasn't even that I was watching the product of PWA. I had never seen a PWA match or show. I didn't know any of the wrestlers. I was purely interested in the physical aspect of wrestling. So everything came backwards for me. Usually you might go to a show and be like, wow, that's so cool, I'll go to a tryout. That all came later. So it has been quite a different journey for me, and I really fell in love with the wrestling, the pure wrestling form, and then all of the other fun stuff kind of came later, and it just kept me going because I kept discovering all these things about wrestling that I loved, and that kind of a lot of my past experience could plug into really easily, and so that's why I've kept it up.
And who have been the trainers there who have been really influential?
So our head trainers, our head coaches are Robbie Eagles, Madison Eagles, and Mick Moretti. I've trained with all of them. Madison has been in and out because of raising a family. She's got a lot of kids, so a lot of commitment. But when she's around, I love her training sessions. the detail that she goes into, I think, particularly from Madison, is invaluable. And I've had a lot of sessions with Robbie too, but I have to say that my the coach that I train with a lot is Mick Moretti. Especially, I wanted to train a lot with him. All of the coaches are amazing, but I think that his character work is one of the best in the whole world. Definitely Australia, I would even say the world. So to be able to learn under him has been incredible.
Sure. Are you the person to coax Madison back into the ring?
That would be fun. I have been thinking about that. I was wondering how I would do that, and I was thinking about bringing back the old women's championship, because you know how that's changed over now to the Soul.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe we can coax her out with something like that. I don't know if I would be the one to do that, but I would love to see her in the ring. I would love to be in the ring with her one day. Again, I did have a match with her when I started very early on. I think it was my second match. Yeah, the tag match. So now I'm a little more experienced. That would be interesting.
God, I would love to see that. One of the reasons I really love talking to female talent is because we have outrageously good male talent. As you say, Moretti is as good as anyone in the world. But as we've just seen this last weekend, it's the women who become megastars when they're signed. Do you have a theory why that is?
Because we have the best coaches in the world. Like, absolutely, the way that we have Madison to lead us as like a female inspiration from that standpoint, to teach us and ingrain in us not to take any shit, basically, and that we are as good as any other male wrestler out there. And so to have that confidence instilled in you from the very start, I think only grows and grows, and that's why now we see these females conquering over in America and worldwide as well, with Charlie Evans, going to the UK. We've got Lena Cross, who's been in Japan. So
Zena's just been in the Cinderella tournament.
Yeah, all that, yeah. So it's all happening.
And so, what are your goals going forward? I know that you speak a bit of Japanese. You have a bit of Japanese language on your gear, and I know just yesterday you were announced for New Japan Tamashi in Sydney, which is mega exciting. How are you feeling about that, and is that your goal going forward?
It is. This is like a really big step, having this match with Jessica Troy at Tamashi. I was so excited to find that out because, like you said, I've got a bit of Japanese. I love Japan and Japanese culture, and so to be able to represent Australian wrestling on a platform like New Japan World that's going to go out everywhere is super exciting, and even more exciting to wrestle Jess because she's the best.
I'm so excited for both of you, man. That's going to be amazing. You became this sort of lovable underdog wrestling student, which got super over, even in places like MCW where you weren't a regular, and in a place like PWA, which is 18 plus. Why do you think it got so popular so quickly?
I think that it's a lot because I put myself into that character. I really think a lot of it is me and being quite genuinely how I am, which is kind of awkward, quite studious, just a little bit silly. I've got kind of all those elements that I think can create a good wrestling match as a character, and that's what I focus on a lot, is the storytelling and obviously the technique and everything to have a match look good. But this is the kind of thing that our coaches teach us, especially Mick, is the importance of the storytelling and how you're going to show your character through that. So I've been really trying hard to do that, and I think maybe that's what's getting through to people, because they can see that it's a genuineness to it, and so they're going to believe it more. I think that's kind of my assumption. You have to ask people, I guess, specifically why they might like me. But yeah, that could be it. Like you said in the 18 plus shows as well, maybe there's a bit of like a naivety and a like a cuteness that kind of intersects with all of the more kind of F-bomb side of the show that maybe makes it balanced a bit more. I don't know, I'm just throwing out ideas, but I'm glad they like me at the end of the day. That's what we want.
One of the reasons I think I'm drawn to it is because it seems so original. I can't think of a good comparison. And I'm a wrestling nerd. Is there anyone that you sort of draw from character-wise?
Character-wise, not particularly. A lot of that comes out of my own head and out of my own experience when we look at the character motivations and kind of way that Cherry is. I do draw a lot from Joshi, obviously. I've got the Japanese side of that. That is really important to me. And so kind of more of my look comes from there and a lot of my moveset comes from there. But character-wise, it's really a lot of me trying to develop that myself.
One of the things that sort of took the character to the next level was the storyline and the long-term storyline as Will Keedis's underling, which then became the bet between Will Keedis and Big Fudge as to whether you could win a championship. How important was that in the development of your character, and how important were those two guys?
Oh, incredibly. That was a defining moment for my character. That was a switch over, I think. That was from the nervous Cherry, the awkward Cherry, who was just trying to get through the match, and then kind of came under Will's wing, but not in a good way. And so I think that all of that struggle that Cherry kind of went through, out the other end is we've got this kind of new and improved Cherry that's ready to take on the next chapter, whatever that is. So of course, like, you know, you don't really get self-development by yourself. It happens through situations that you're put in and the people that you're around that are going to shape what happens next. So they were completely, defining for me in my career and my favorite storyline ever.
And you talked about getting you ready for what was next. What was next was the title match against Mick Moretti for the Soul of PWA Championship. I could talk about this match forever, man. I loved it so much. At this point, you've had less than 30 matches. This is at the Cherries All That event, which is named after you. And you have an incredible match with Mick Moretti that I personally voted for as Match of the Year in PWA's End of Year Awards. Talk about the build up to that match and the match itself and having an event named after you.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a nice surprise. The build up to that was the most intense preparation that I've had in my nearly 5 years of wrestling. I think that coming out of the bet story and to get to that level of almost like a top student, like you're an A grade student and you're going against your coach, who is like A+++++, like forever and ever ad infinite. And so you want to prove yourself as well. You want to prove that you can hang. And so the preparation for that in all aspects of my life was really intense. It was like dieting, it was exercising, it was training as much as I could, to be as ready as I could to step in the ring with one of Australia's best wrestlers.
You must have been thrilled with it.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was great. It was my moment of 2022.
Yeah, sure. And I would imagine your wrestling highlight ever.
Yes, probably. Yeah, well, yeah, for at this point, yeah.
As I say, I could talk about it forever. And to our listeners, if you haven't seen it, Cherry's All That on Fight Plus. It's the main event. Go watch it. It's incredible. Now, I'll come back to MCW, but you've just been over in LA where, as I mentioned, you became an internationally travelled wrestler. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was really awesome. So I went to America last year as well for Mania, but I didn't really have anything planned. It was my first Mania trip. Um, and it was kind of just to see what the scene was like, going to a lot of the indie matches, WrestleCon and GCW, the collective, putting all those on, being able to support some of the girls. I went with a bunch of girls last year, like Jessica Troy got to be in a match, watch Shazza McKenzie in a lot of matches too, and be there to support them. And I was really lucky this time to be even more involved in that aspect, because I got to make a debut at Circle 6 in like a Rumble style match. So that was really cool. That was one of my bucket list items to, perform at a show during WrestleMania week. So I managed to tick that off, even though it was very brief. And being able to help backstage with like Impact show, being able to meet a whole lot of people, being able to see some of the Aussies, like Aussie Open, and be like, oh yeah, we're here, we're all here, the Aussies are here. So it was really good. It was a bit of a whirlwind. It was nice. It was like a half and half. I managed to have a little bit of a holiday, and then the end of part of that week was like wrestling. And then Mania, we went on that too. And then flew home. It was a very quick trip, only a week, but we did do some training at Santino Bros Wrestling. We had the session there. So that was another thing that I wanted to do, train at a wrestling school. So another tick. And while I was there, I was like, oh, this would just be so awesome to come and spend like a month, 2 months, or 3 months, whenever you have to leave because of the visa, just training, just like seeing what the shows are like in America, seeing what the vibe is like. A week is not enough, and it's Mania week. It's literally manic. So I would be interested to go back and try training there, but really my goal is Japan. So will I be back at Mania next year? I'm not sure. It depends what's happening, where I'm at. But this trip was, fantastic. It was great.
And so beyond this amazing Tamashii opportunity, have you got any feelers out in Japan? Have you spoken to anyone? Can you give us any scoops?
Unfortunately, I cannot give you any scoops. There's obviously the girls that have been in Japan, like Charlie's been at Sendai, Laurie's also been at Sendai, a few girls at Tokyo Joshi as well. I did go to the Tokyo Joshi show in Los Angeles, and I was like, oh, it would be so cool to wrestle with these girls. And I was able to meet like their head coach, and speak a little bit of terrible Japanese. So I was, making a few connections, and hoping after Tamashii I can like really try and like forward to get myself to Japan in any way possible. So that's kind of my focus for the rest of the year.
Yeah, incredible. Your immediate focus, literally tomorrow, is with MCW Blood in the Water, where you challenge Delta for the women's title. How are you feeling going into it?
I'm feeling pretty good. I've got a little bit of a different strategy that I am working on using, which I'm not going to reveal. So worked on that and hoping, Delta, she's such a powerhouse. She's kind of terrifying to me, but I think if I just come at her full force, she might be caught a bit off guard. So I'm just going to do what Cherry does and try my best. Do your best.
You earned this opportunity in the Ballroom Blitz at MCW 12, where you eliminated everyone, including the new indie goddess, Steph DeLander. How does that rank among your achievements? How did it feel to beat everyone?
Yeah, that was really cool. I haven't been in a lot of matches like that. And so to get on top and manage to come out victorious, especially taking Steph DeLander out at the last second, it was a really good feeling. And also, to get that title shot and to have this match with Delta and prove what I can do, it's great.
Now, you have faced Delta before about 13 months ago in MCW, where she beat you in a really, really competitive match. What's going to be different this time?
Yeah, so that's what I was saying before. I think I can't come at it, there's that saying, it's like, you're an idiot if you try doing the same thing over and over again. I've got my playbook, I've got my notebook, I've been filling it up, I've been studying up, I've been tape study, I've been watching Delta's matches, trying to find what the weakness could be, what strategy I could use that's going to be the most effective. So that's what I'm going to try and employ on Saturday. And if that doesn't work, then we try something else. And we try again and again and again, and we keep getting up.
What would winning the belt mean to you? I guess MCW is perhaps arguably the top women's belt in the country at the moment.
Yeah. Winning the MCW belt, I think having that recognition interstate is really important to me in the sense to represent Cherry, but also to represent PWA in a way. So to have the Soul of PWA and MCW championships would really mean a lot for my representation of my academy and my training and my coaches. So that's really, I think, what that means to me.
Yeah, cool. And did you watch the last MCW show? Are you mildly terrified at what Delta did to Jake Andrew Arthur?
Yes. That was a bit scary, but that's okay. I'm not going to let her get me to that point if I can help it.
And I guess the first time you met Delta, that was match number 19 or 20. So you're a relative veteran now.
I would veteran is maybe. Whatever between a rookie and a veteran is, maybe somewhere there. But I do have more tricks up my sleeve now.
Let's promote your stuff. We've got your blog, which is cherrystevens.substack.com. I know your Twitter is @booksaretight. Instagram? Instagram
is cherrystevens_PW for pro wrestler.
And where can we buy stuff or say hello?
Message me on Instagram. I'm always on Instagram, so send me a message. In terms of buying stuff, I have merch at shows, but I also have a store on Wrestler Merch. But also, if you want to support me, you can pledge to the blog as well. If you enjoy it, that would be amazing, even if it's just like $1, just to show that you're supporting my work.
And the last question I like to ask people is your top 3 matches that you've had.
Top 3 matches, yeah. I think
the first one's really obvious.
Match number 1. I really enjoyed my match with Jess Troy at MCW. I had her in a pin, by the way. The ref was down. So I really want to have a rematch for that one. And then, that's a really hard question because there's a few. It would have been the triple threat between Ketis and Fudge for the title shot. Yeah, those would be my top 3, I think.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Cherry, on PW Down Under today, especially the day before a show.
That's okay.
We are super grateful for your time, and I will come and say hello tomorrow night.
Oh, awesome. I'll see you there.
Thanks so much for your time, Cherry.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Now, I want to give Cherry another enormous thank you for speaking with me the day before a show and a couple of days after an international trip. It's been an enormous privilege to get to speak with her. I should have mentioned that MCW, There's Blood in the Water, is broadcast on Fight. MCW was streaming that live this weekend on Saturday the 8th of April. There are also a handful of tickets remaining at the time of recording. Thank you again. I've been Andy on PW Down Under. We hope to join you again soon.
I've been waiting for this all my life, standing on the cliff.